A few years ago, TikTok was obsessed with this one account. They call themselves the Sprite Company. They claimed to have dissociative identity disorder, tics. Alters who had near perfect communication with each other, making food for one another only to switch in and surprise the other. Forcing switches, they even have a different toothbrush for every alter. And then in early 2022, they disappeared. We didn't get a goodbye or any meltdown or I'm taking a break. Just gone. However, the videos haven't gone anywhere. If you watch them now, you witness a time capsule into what was TikTok's fake disorder era, in which dissociating? Symptoms of DID? I haven't heard of her, but here's my show. Hit like and subscribe because we are going back to 2020 TikTok and I'm absolutely not emotionally prepared to do it alone. Let's clock this one that I would like to humbly title the Disney Channel Acting Challenge.
I can feel it coming on.
POV when your phone hit 2% and it shuts off anyway? Just wait for this to hit 1 minute and we'll get an ad in.
Guess the player.
Me by myself in my room after I watched the movie Split once. Okay, so watching it back, there are a couple moments where my brain was just like, wait. The whole, I can feel the switch coming thing. Okay, sure. That can happen with people living with DID. Just for context, DID forms as a response to severe and repeated trauma. In a way, it is as though your brain fractured itself to cope. These parts early on don't exactly switch out so cleanly. There's often memory gaps, confusion, and overlap. Not always this clean turn on and off button. So the whole I can feel the switch coming, okay, people can sometimes feel warning signs. Foggy, tired, pressure, whatever. That part isn't weird. What is weird though is being clear enough to say, okay, let me set up my phone, set it up, frame it, hit record. I guess, but once you're doing that, aren't you already quite present? Then there's the switch itself. The head drop, going completely still, the full Windows shutdown moment. And I'm sorry, I don't think that's what dissociation looks like. And listen, dissociation is different for everyone, although I don't think this is what dissociation looks like. A lot of people describe switching as more foggy and disorienting than cinematic. And then there's this text on screen, nobody in the body. And that's where I fully checked out. Your brain doesn't just go empty, no matter how hard you dissociate. Something's still keeping the body going, right? You're still breathing. You're sitting there. You're not just gone. So the whole nobody's home for a good 15 seconds there is interesting, but it does feel more like a movie. Also, it's just too perfect. The 15 seconds exactly. It's long enough to be dramatic and yet short enough so that nobody scrolls. Okay, sure. An alter then sits up, they pull off their name tag, clocks the camera and goes, guess the player. Okay, Marvel reveal. That's a lot of awareness for all at once. You know where you are. You know that you're being filmed. You know everything that just happened and that this is your big entrance. Even if previously co-conscious, most people's switching isn't full going into alter intro mode. The name tags, yeah, people use labels sometimes. But doing it like this, timing it with the switch, using it for drama, I don't know. In real life with DID, you often have the people who already know the difference between each alter. And of course, we have the group of people who aren't gonna be convinced of anything based on a sticker. So to me, it seems more like for the audience than anything practical. Also, might I add, real DID comes with dissociative amnesia. Sometimes you fully black out, other times it's kind of like your brain recorded everything on some foggy VHS tape. So just jumping straight into what we were doing before, I don't know if it's always that neat, especially early on. Anyways, the comments were a mess. You know, when no one is in the body, I bet they're doing rock, paper, scissors to see who fronts next. Jonas knows he's hot. I wanna know Jonas. Which kinda says everything. Because look at what the people are reacting to. Nobody's going like, hey, are you okay? Or like, did you hit your head? They're not worried. And really, think about it. If someone was really not in their body for just a second, that's freaking scary. Like, we're sitting at our desk, you could face plant, slide out of the chair, you could hit your head. It all, to me, sounds like a medical situation. There are also people I've seen, I don't know, they have like fainting disorders. And a lot of the time, if you feel like you might faint coming up, you might like get down on the ground, get somewhere to protect your head. I don't know. But instead of that, they just neatly are like, I'm about to switch, and then put their head down. Like, thank God, right? That they didn't fall down and hit their head. But nobody's responding to that. Is it because the video just looks more staged than dangerous? It just looks like something that you're meant to just sit back and watch, not something you're meant to be scared about. Like, have you ever seen the movie Scream or Saw? You're not thinking, oh God, I hope the actor's all right. You know that they're acting. That's the vibe here. Of course, also, what would we be without the flirtatious alter that everyone crushes on? Don't go in the comments, because I promise you're gonna see a lot of shipping, curiosity. This is my favorite alter. A lot of the time when DID forms, the brain is literally thinking, I cannot experience this or I will die. So, let's ship that? Let's heartthrob that? Like, I'm not saying it's not okay for a person with DID to do a thirst trap. It's just that, like, picking favorite alters is definitely side-eye for me. Like, imagine being a different alter and you're like, yeah, sorry that the trauma I experienced to be here just it didn't make me into enough of a heartthrob, you know? Like, so if you're wondering, why are the viewers responding like this? Because the content is inviting it. Let's watch the next tape, unfortunately.
Okay, tell me your system without telling me your system. I'll go first. Hey, I thought you said you lived alone. Yeah, I do. Why? Why are there 6 toothbrushes in your bathroom? Yo, could I have some of that fried rice in your fridge? Oh no, that's Iris's. I thought you said you lived alone. Oh, yeah, I do. Hey, what's your sexuality? I'm gender fluid? Hey, would you mind grabbing my journal from over there? Yeah, but, which one?
All right, gender fluid, different alters, different identities, fine. I'm following. It's just system things, right? 6 toothbrushes? 6. That's where my brain goes into, we're doing a bit now. Also, if you don't have DID, you've hardly ever heard of it, this pops up on your feed, you might just scroll and be like, sure, that seems legit, and keep going. Okay, technically, right, this could be DID. It is a bit clean. They read as late teens to me, which honestly, no offense, it puts a lot of this into context. That's the age where a lot of us are just trying to figure out who we are. I'm just trying to put structure around stuff that feels messy, right? TikTok is the worst place to do that. 6 toothbrushes, 1 million journals labeled food. Listen, I too save food for myself. You know, like, I got my chocolate for when I know I'm not gonna be in a good mood. However, that's a mood, not a separate alter. What catches the eye? again, is how smoothly everything runs. Everyone knows their stuff, everyone's preferences are respected, nothing ever goes wrong, nobody's confused, nobody's embarrassed. It reads like quirky roommate humor, but we're all one person. I do have to cut in here and say though, remember kids, this is a dissociative disorder. Emphasis on disorder. Where's the disordering? Maybe with therapy, I don't know, like we're encouraging dissociation, it appears. However, a lot of people, especially early on in recovery, don't have it so easily figured out yet. Early on, it's chaotic, to put it lightly. You lose time. You find things that you don't remember buying or writing. So when everything looks this neat, it sticks out. It says in their TikTok bio that they were diagnosed in 2021. They're 20 years old. So you're telling me that they were like, okay, every single alter, you're in a DID system, let's all be simpatico. Sure, it works like that. Certainly not. Some alters will be like, hey, I disagree, I'm not in a DID system, or I carry this specific trauma that I don't want anyone to know about, I refuse to talk to you. Like, the possibilities are endless, and yet every single alter here is just like, all right, let's all use different toothbrushes and it's fine. Listen, I am too guilty of laughing at my own jokes. However, there's a difference between laughing because you know that the joke is gonna land and laughing because you need the joke to land. DID being a trauma-based disorder, living with symptoms of PTSD, CPTSD, whatever. Forget that. Let's see how many switches we have in a day. Presenting their literal attendance log.
Hey guys, my name is Jackson and I'm a part of a DID system. A lot of people have been asking how many times we switch per day, so this is a switch log. It's about 10 o'clock. I just woke up and I'll see you later. What up? It's Jonas and it's 10:30.
All right, that was fast.
Hey guys, it's Iris and it's 11:05. Hey guys, this is Cameron. It's 11:49. Hey, this is Iris again and it's 12:22. What up? It's Jonas. It's 12:48. Hey, this is Cameron. It's 2:30. What up? This is Jonas. It is 4:09 and we are in heavy traffic. Hi, my name is Jada. It's 4:48 and this is my first time fronting.
This is her actual first day on the job, and she's already on camera.
What up? It's Jonas. It is 5:11. Hey guys, it's Cameron and it's 6:22. Hey guys, it's Jackson. It's 7:36 and I lived none of this day.
This is funny, I mean, separate from the brand new alter thing, because on paper, this seems totally reasonable. People asked how many times we switch. Here's a log. But then when you look closer, it's just like, everyone is way too locked in. Every single switch has a timestamp. Every alter pops in knowing exactly who they are, what time it is, and of course, don't forget to film the TikTok. Even the alter who says it is their first time fronting is like, hey guys, it's me. And we're gonna talk about that for a second. We are. A brand new alter comes out for the first time. Their first instinct, right, is to grab the phone and vlog. That is wild. Like, isn't it so, correct me if I'm wrong, that most alters don't even know what's going on the first time they're fronting. Now listen, I've never been a new alter in a DID system, right? However, I imagine it's like foggy, confusing, scary. You're not exactly thinking, all right, let me whip out the phone and record. You're thinking, why am I here? Why do I have this body? And I've seen other people with DID do this. And if you have DID and you've done this, like, I'm not saying you're faking. Although I do have questions, one being, how do you remember to vlog? There are so many times that I've been like, all right, I'm gonna do a members only vlog, and I record once and then I forget for the rest of the day. And also, I must insert that I don't even have a dissociative disorder. Also, not every single person who lives with dissociation or alternative states will just immediately be like, all right, I'm out now, clear handoff. You might even figure it out later. Like, it's not like you're like, oh, I just switched and I'm out now. It could be. Hear me out though. A lot of people have described only realizing that someone else is out because, oh, it's later in the day, or I don't remember sending that text message. Or I've even heard, you know, I went to the bathroom and I saw a face full of makeup that I didn't put on. Okay, somebody must have been out. That's often how it hits. However, now, if it's your first time fronting, it'll be a little messier. And I want to know like your thoughts if you live with DID or dissociative disorder. What are your thoughts on these people who present as like systems with perfect communication? I know I was just diagnosed last year, however, we got perfect presentation, perfect alter communication. People spend years trying to get a fraction of that. Meanwhile here, shortly after getting diagnosed, they all have a meeting in the inner world in the brain and they're just like, all right guys, now we're all gonna whip out the phone and vlog today. Now I need you to watch this next one very closely because we're diving into the switch on camera.
Hey there, my name is Iris and I'm part of the DID system, and today I wanted to talk about fictives. We personally don't... Okay, I'm gonna switch.
All right, we're announcing it now.
Fuck off.
Not even a loading screen at all from Jackson.
Well, this is nice. This is Jackson. I haven't been here in a little while. This is... wow. What up? It's Jonas. I switched in again unexpectedly while editing this video, so I'm gonna do my best.
That little look around and then lock eyes with the camera. Pure theater kid energy. It's also just better because you know they just spent an hour recording this until they got it right. Hey guys, I want to talk about fictives and hold on, has the most generic looking dissociation that absolutely does happen, but was very common and normalized, like that this is exactly what switches look like back in 2020. Now, dissociation in real life, it really can be quite the momentum killer. With dissociation, you can zone out. If you can forget what you were saying. Not every time, but people have described like coming in mid-sentence and someone's just like looking at you. Here, the switch shows up right on cue perfectly when the person was explaining something DID related and then they have a DID related phenomenon. It's a very specific vibe because a lot of people who live with DID have talked about how, I don't know, annoying and disruptive it is. So when you see dissociation making the video almost clearer and more smooth, of course it has to make it entertaining. Yeah, people might squint. And I'm not saying that switching on camera cannot happen, but it's also just like the way, I don't know, that it's being used. Like, it's just so interesting to me how we're not gonna discuss trauma therapy and, oh, these are some breakthroughs that I've made. I don't know. It's always just the switch on camera, like the most eye-catching split core. Like, for example, there's this YouTuber, Multiplicity in Me. She used to make these YouTube videos about living with DID. Arguably one of the least stigmatizing DID creators out there. Bigger ones, I should say, shout out to smaller ones. However, Multiplicity and Me recorded and they're like, hey, I just happened to catch a switch on camera. This is what it looks like for me sometimes. It doesn't have to be like this whole dramatic thing.
For years now, people have asked us, what does it look like when you switch? And let me just say, for us, it's not been an easy thing to capture naturally on film. I started placing a camera in the living room when I started to feel switchy. This can be described as not really feeling much like yourself, so like identity confusion and alteration, and feeling like more dissociated. Eventually, you'll begin to see the mythical switch. Ready? There. Did you see it? Let's try again.
Gaz? Are you putting the kettle on?
Yeah, mate, I'll put it on there for you.
Oh, thanks.
Let me guess. Not as exciting as you thought.
Also, some alters might not be okay with coming on camera. Like, imagine if you've ever experienced any level of dissociation, coming out of it and seeing like, oh, I'm being recorded right now. It's just interesting to me that all the alters are like, yes, let's do it, the social media thing. Now, I want to show you how they describe their day-to-day life, because this is where the whole cast of characters vibe really kicks in.
Hello, my name is Jackson. I'm the host of the DID system, and today we're going on a trip. So I'm gonna show you what it's like to pack as a DID system. Firstly, we can never spend the night somewhere without 2 pairs of shoes. I personally am fine with my brown penny loafers for every single outfit, but apparently they don't cut it.
So what's this we got? Penny loafers and flip-flops, which is of course perfect for attending a wedding or escaping a crime scene.
Secondly, we have 2 of these.
Okay, to be fair, am I the only one who has a, like, this is my first date deodorant versus this is my everyday deodorant?
Now, no, they're not the same scent, and that's fine. But I'm pretty sure that the reason is just because Jonas doesn't want to use the same stuff as me, because that's why we have to take 2 pairs of shoes everywhere. And lastly, the biggest and most controversial thing that we have to take multiple of are toothbrushes.
Me when I treat my brain like a Sims household.
Now, I do have a video up over why we have multiple toothbrushes, but it's really simple: individuality. Yes, we live in the same body, but we are different people, so it feels really weird for us to use the same toothbrush. I have a little more time, so whose is whose? Take a guess.
What would a DID-focused TikToker be without their what I pack as a DID system video? To be honest though, the first thing that hits me is not the DID, it's the suitcase. 2 pairs of shoes. We got brown penny loafers and flip-flops. So if there's an emergency, are you sprinting in dress shoes or eating pavement? I'll look over the deodorant. I can't look over the toothbrushes. We got a whole row of them, and we need them because each alter needs individuality. To be fair, I mean, some people with DID might use different hygiene products, whether it's for comfort, boundaries, trauma reasons. But I do refuse to look over the way it's being framed. It's not, oh, well, I don't know, this is just what makes me feel safe. It's, we are separate people living in the same body. So just a reminder that DID is not actually and literally separate people living in the same brain. These are parts of one person, right, that split to survive trauma. They can have names, ages, genders, preferences, all that kind of stuff. But it is still one mind. And that's why a lot of therapy is about helping these parts work together, not turning them into 6 unrelated people fighting over sink space. So when it becomes, I mean, we're different people, so we use different toothbrushes, it slides into this TikTok version of DID where it's like, I mean, technically we're just multiple people in a trench coat. Also, really, you guys are gonna make me be the one to tell them this. You guys all have the same mouth, 1 set of teeth, and 1 microbiome. And then they're gonna go on to be like, well, I mean, guess who uses which toothbrush? So that's where I'm losing the, oh, I mean, this just helps me function. Cause then it's more like, and this is our cast of characters. I guess you could use clothes as an example. Some people with DID will be like, okay, if this alter dressed the body, you know, then we might be wearing different styles. However, if another alter switches into the body, they might not be super duper quick to be like, oh my god, I need to go change my clothes, I need to do my makeup. There are things like dysphoria and dysmorphia where, like, say, a male alter switches into a body and they're presenting female. Some alters might be uncomfortable with that, while others are just like, you know what I'm saying? Like, even I, throughout the day, I might be like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have put on this outfit, but like, do I want to change? No. That's why you might not see people with DID, like, every time they switch, they'll be like, okay, now I'm wearing a wig, okay, now I'm not wearing a wig. Because just a reminder for the people in the back that mental health is not cosplay. Also, and listen, this is beyond my expertise, but a lot of therapy around DID is related to making things easier rather than louder. Some people aim for what's called functional multiplicity. This is where parts might cooperate and share memories. Others move towards final fusion, where alters will blend into one. Either way, correct me if I'm wrong, the goal is less disruption, not like more props. So then you look at all these things that are being externalized, the toothbrush, the labels. The question is like, is this helping you get through the day, or is this encouraging dissociative barriers? Now to the comments. Okay, so I was scrolling and someone was like, is gaining a new alter kind of like having a new roommate? And Sprite replies, I mean, DID is a very complicated dissociative disorder. I wouldn't really, oh no, they said, kind of, yeah. Calling a new alter a roommate, I mean, it sounds very casual. Like, oh yeah, someone just moved in, let's clear a drawer, right? So that's not usually how this feels for people living with DID IRL. More times than not, it's realizing that this alter had always been here the whole time. And the realization is usually disorienting, scary, upsetting. You're trying to piece things together. Also, it's not always like cute roommate. It's this alter might do something to my body that's not safe. I've seen studies that say anywhere from 60 to 80% of people with DID will attempt to unalive. That doesn't make any other disorder less valid, but DID develops when a child experiences severe, prolonged, inescapable trauma to the point where your identity fractures. Some parts will hold terror, others will hold pain, rage, memories of abuse, the urge to unalive. Now, does that mean that DID is a sentence? Absolutely not. But it also might not always be treated like, LOL, I just have a new roommate. They didn't even push back on framing at all, being like, I mean, not really. Or no, it's more complicated than that. They said, yeah, kind of, because I'm sure to them, that is their understanding. Yeah, kind of. It's like having roommates. At that point, it doesn't sound as much like a symptom as it does a feature. Let's play this next one, shall we? Where switching turns into a party trick.
What? This is so cute. Oh my gosh. I feel so loved.
So this pancake part, right? This is core curriculum for this video. Now, they plated the pancakes and then, I cannot make this up, manifested another alter. So I'm not gonna argue about what causes a switch because the list is probably endless, but it could be stress, exhaustion, a positive or negative trigger, feeling overwhelmed. Here though, Jonas makes pancakes for his girl, Iris. He sits down, he closes his eyes, and Iris spawns in like she's loaded a new skin. And to be fair, some systems can like nudge switches. I mean, definitely talk to your therapist first, you know what I'm saying? We don't want to be messing with traumatized parts. However, you can use things like music, routines, certain cues, especially when someone specific needs to handle something that on its own isn't weird. What is weird though is that the switch was smoother than most YouTuber intros. So we briefly touched on this, but there is something called co-consciousness. It's not always like a perfect, okay, I need this alter to be out and I need them to have blackout amnesia because I want to make a surprise for Iris. Sometimes one alter, two alters can kind of be blending. My science words are not working today or ever actually, but based on how this person with DID appears is that there is some high level of co-consciousness, which could explain things like why after a switch happens, the other's like, oh yeah, we're recording, I expected this. But then we have this part where the amnesia feels very convenient because apparently they can share awareness when it's useful. But then when it comes to stuff like, oh, I wanted to surprise Iris, suddenly it's, oh, conveniently there was an amnesic barrier. Like the brain had a team meeting and they went, okay, everyone, Nobody ruin the pancake surprise. There's gotta be some explanation, right? Look no further than them laying out the internal rules of the system.
Hey guys, this is Jonas. I wanted to talk a little bit more about dissociative amnesia and how it affects us as a system. So as a recap, dissociative amnesia is where memories are not fully relayed between alters. In our system in particular, this really has to do with the communication of the alters that are in at that present moment. I personally have pretty good communication with Jackson, and usually when he or I are fronting, we're going to be somewhat co-conscious. Because of this, usually I can remember most of what Jackson does, and he can remember most of what I do. On the other hand, I don't have any communication with Cameron, so usually when Cameron and I switch out, I don't remember what's going on, or he doesn't remember what's going on.
Why does this sound like relationship drama? It's like Jackson and Jonas are cool, but Cameron is blocked.
The more communication, the more memories, and the less communication, the more amnesia. I hope that makes sense.
Okay, this explanation on its own honestly tracks what they're saying about dissociative amnesia. Different alters remembering different stuff, some being co-conscious, some not. That's a pretty simple copy-paste DID explanation. However, the vibes are way too organized. They're just able to clearly state who remembers who talks to who remembers what, who shares memory with who. It's giving laminated flowchart. Almost like, remember those journals? Were those so much therapy journals or lore binders? There's no, maybe, or I don't know, we're still figuring that out. No, honestly, I don't even remember what I did yesterday. Just very clean and confident customer service ready voice. Like, I just know they already have the FAQ page done. Yeah, people with DID absolutely learn about their system over time, but hearing it laid out like the whole wiki is already finished, when the disorder is already built around memory being weird and fractured. It's very hilarious in a how are you already on season 5 kind of way. I also have a question for the audience. They had an Amazon wish list for each alter. And then Cameron goes, well, Jonas already opened my package. Which is wild because, am I mixing alters up here? But doesn't Jonas have zero communication with Cameron? So in this video, how did Cameron know? Which to me sounds like a plot hole. Let me show you what I mean.
Hello, my name is Cameron. I'm a part of a DID system, and I'm back with another package. But Jonas already opened it. It was for me, and it's this book. Again, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, but it's the 5 novels in one, unabridged version. And our wonderful mod sent it to me, and I'm so excited and I'm so happy. So thank you so much, Smart and Sassy. You're the best. Another one from Dark is this. I know what it is. It's a you write on it. A dry erase board. It's a dry erase board, and we've been wanting one so that we can write notes to each other rather than having to use sticky notes. Anyways, thank you, Dark, and thank you so much for this book. I'm literally probably gonna read the whole thing, like, tonight and tomorrow, so...
So earlier they said there was no communication between Jonas and Cameron. So when they switch, neither will remember what the other did. Then Cameron comes on and says, listen, Jonas already opened it, even though it was for me. To me, that's a pretty specific thing to know about, especially when there is no overlap. It assumes awareness of what Jonas did and when. Now, on its own, I'm not saying that it's like, you know, with different alters every single time it's gonna be like this, so on its own, it's not sus. But with everything else, I feel like it's just adding to my suspicion of clocking them. But adding everything up just adds to my suspicions. And if you thought this simply could not get any stranger, I implore you to feast your eyes.
All right, we're here, just sitting in the car. I want you to show me if you can get far. Step on the gas. Step on the gas. Step on the brakes.
In this this TikTok, they're literally packaging it as a joke. Them sending out an 8-year-old trauma holder who is 8? Okay, that is comedy, I guess. Like I said, I don't think if you have DID, you cannot ever have fun or joke about your alters. But the punchline here is basically, I needed help, so my brain sent out the 8-year-old. Why are we treating a trauma response like a sitcom gag? That child part exists because something so overwhelming happened that a piece of the mind got stuck carrying it. It's framed like a Slack message. Hey guys, I'm really struggling. Can someone help me out? Yeah, no worries. I'm gonna send out the 8-year-old. Why is this child part being treated as anything but fragile? I don't feel the vibe of treating them like a character who got sent in for content. The next clip is where it goes full spoken word therapy TikTok. Just keep an eye out on how perfectly everyone knows what to say.
Are you ready to wake up now? Hi. What's going on? Where is Mama? Mama's far away now, but it's for the better. We take care of each other. Who's we? Well, I'm kind of like your mom. I take care of the difficult emotions. And you can think of me as your best friend. I just really like frogs.
Thank you for the interruption, Hattie Law.
So what's next? What do I do now? The world is a hard place for people like you, but you don't have to go through it alone, and that's the beauty of it. We're here for you every step of the way, Jillian. We love you, and we support you even when others don't. We'll be here for you to cry on, laugh with, and maybe even do some fun things. We draw together sometimes. We just want you to know that you're loved, and you're never alone. We promise you that.
Okay, so this one's different from the others, right? Because it's meant to be emotional. I think they're trying to sell that these alters are having an inner dialogue. They're talking to each other, they're reassuring this younger part that we definitely weren't joking about earlier. You know, we're filling in for a parent, we're trying to provide comfort. And I want to say this up front, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like a conversation like this might actually be healthy. Some people with DID experience internal conversations, others don't. It just seems too perfect. Like, some people with DID spend years in therapy and don't even, like, the child alter isn't even aware that they're in a DID system. It depends on the person and the alter, but sometimes they might believe that it's still, say they split in 2008, that it's 2008. So yeah, it's like, would it be cool if DID was this simple? We could all just, hey, listen, I'll bring the popcorn, I'll bring the snacks, we'll all get together, have a cute conversation. Don't worry, I'll handle the adult level insight on the 8-year-old. A lot of people with trauma do go here, as in like, maybe my parent was, you know how it is. So I'm gonna step up. I am my own parent, even without DID. It makes sense, but even in that case, it takes years of therapy. And this video is so catered to the satisfaction of viewers. It's almost like the Sprite company did research on how to capture the hearts of viewers. Which again, this works great as content. But to me, it's blurring the lines between expressing an experience and performing one. Comment section is clocking it too. Are you for real romanticizing DID? Yeah, that's kind of the quiet part out loud, isn't it? Just say you want to get into acting. I keep having to pause out of secondhand embarrassment. Same, I mean, honestly, that one might be the most accurate review. That doesn't make this video evil. It's just not a great representation of how DID usually shows up in real time, which is usually fragmented, confusing, not nearly as articulate. The next clip kind of sums up what I'm trying to say.
Hello, my name is Jackson and I'm the host of a DID system, and today I have a little bit of a more serious video, but it's not bad, so don't worry. So about an hour ago, I fronted to this letter left by a new alter, apparently. You can pause to read. Now, as a host who cares deeply about their alters, reading this, I was kind of like concerned, you know, because I was like, oh, we have a new alter who has no idea what's going on, and that's kind of on me. So I decided to write this, which I will eventually print out into a new alter manual. And I just want to go over it with y'all. So first I put a little introduction, and you are a part of a DID system. Now what's DID? Explanation. What are alters? Explanation. And what's the host? Explanation. And then I just listed out everyone in our system. Before this, I never thought about making one of these, but as I'm thinking about it, for alters that have really bad amnesic barriers, this is really smart. Props to the A system for the idea. And I just put that right there.
Okay, this one actually made me stop for a second because, like, I get the initial reaction. I mean, though, if you did get a note that said, I'm scared, I don't know where I am. Yeah, no, that would be alarming. I don't feel like it's weird to want to comfort that part or explain what's going on. What threw me though is how fast this turns into a system update. It goes straight from concern to, all right, this is the new alter. Here's the system, here's a letter, a manual. Here's the system, here's a letter. Here's a plan to print it out into an alter manual. Also, why is this being filmed? Also, why is this part being filmed? I can't get past that. I just feel like this is something you'd process privately or in therapy. Instead, it's immediately content. We're narrating it, explaining it, presenting it like, hey guys, so there's something new going on in the system. And the tone flips real fast from, this scared me. And then 2 seconds later, it's actually, this is a really smart system idea. The whiplash is weird. It just doesn't feel like someone who's sitting in confusion. It feels like someone who already knows how this story's supposed to go. I think that's why it made me uncomfortable in a way that's different from the others. It's not jokey or quirky or even dramatic. It does feel like, though, dissociation being expanded in real time. With an audience and taking notes, yeah, I feel weird about that. So now I'm kind of wondering about them because they did just disappear. Their last TikTok was on January 9th of 2022. Which, first of all, why did my brain think that was last year? That was 4 years ago, and time is fake. So I did some digging, and what's interesting is that they did not just fall off of the internet. Their old TikTok still links to their Spotify. And I clicked on it. They are still active on there more recently. The last playlist they made was on February 2nd, 2025, titled Jimmy. Now that could mean anything. A friend, a nickname, a pet, a phase, a hyperfixation. I'm not trying to turn anyone into a mystery novel. It doesn't prove whether this DID stuff is still going on or not. What did make me laugh though is that they do have a playlist for each different alter, but this was back in like 2022. And I was just like, that's kind of like relatable for me though, because I actually have like 4 different playlists for my different OCs. I have a playlist for emotionally unavailable men who like to stare out windows and ruin lives. So this is the same energy, right? Different font. But other people on TikTok had the same question. What happened to the Sprite company? The comments on this are brutal. Half the people were like, yeah, I mean, they probably left because of hate and fake claiming. The other half were like, all right, be serious, the grift dried up. They were probably faking TBH. They probably left because of the hate. They left due to hate and mental health issues. Most DID TikTokers do. I mean, this is kind of the whole story in 2 screenshots. So years later, forget Edward and Jacob. We've got, is the Sprite company faking or not? Either they were a poor victim, or they were running a bit and dipped when it stopped working. The most wild part is, nobody knows. And now their TikTok lies there like the ghost of 2020. Also, the TikTok algorithm fully clocked what I was researching because it served me this video of somebody who was in high school when this whole faking craze was a thing.
So now that it's the new year, we're once again getting the influx of the TikToks that are like, 2020 was X many years ago, 6 years ago now. And every time I can't help but remember how people would fake like disorders, specifically how people would pretend to have Tourette's. Most people who know me know this. I have Tourette's. Well, I have panda syndrome. My tics aren't as noticeable as they used to be. Like, they're getting better with age, but they're there. You can tell I have it if you hang out with me for long enough. And I have a story time, right? Okay, well, first of all, I get insecure about it specifically because of these people. I'm like, what if people think I'm pretending? But so I used to do theater tech in high school, simply as an excuse to, I don't know if I can say that on here, in the bathroom, and then, like, make clothing and accessories, because I did, like, the costumes, and I was just geeked the whole time. But the theater kids, like, the cast themselves were so insufferable. In my sophomore year of high school, it was, like, 2021, so the, like, people pretending to have things to, like, be quirky was, like, still pretty common. And there was this one show night, like, they were, like, performing, like, the play, and the entire cast pretended to have tics. I can't make this up. I cannot make this up. And there were a few kids who were already doing it. And thing is, you can tell, I don't know who they thought they were fooling, but especially me as someone who has had tics since I was 7 years old, again, because I have panda syndrome. It's really obvious when people are faking it, and I just don't understand why you would fake a neurological condition, but it was a thing. And literally the entire, like, cast on a show night, full audience, and it was, I went to a tiny school, it wasn't like it was a big, like, it just, and they were going like, beans, beans, and there was this one girl who kept going up to people and kicking them, and she was like, sorry, it's a tick. I can't make this up. I cannot make this up. And every time I remember that this happened, it gets crazier and crazier. I hate all of those people. You all suck. Oh my god, it was the worst. And of course, I was baked out of my mind, because I always was when I was doing theater tech, and I was backstage and I was like, what is going on? That is probably one of, actually that's not even one of my craziest high school stories. I could make a documentary, but I just remembered that.
Alright, this is what people mean when they talk about the 2020 fake disorder era. So it didn't just stay on TikTok and then politely go away when the trend died. Years later, people who actually live with the condition are dealing with the fallout. They're the ones that are getting tested like, are you sure? I mean, I've seen all these people on TikTok faking that exact disorder. Do you really have DID? I mean, like, I've never seen you do these dramatic switches. Can I see your alters? Let me just, like, what are their names? The most wild part is, I don't think a lot of these people woke up in the morning and they were like, well, I'm gonna fake a disorder today. A lot of it was purely vibes, like you're in a school, you have a friend group, or a corner of TikTok where everyone's doing it. Everyone uses the same words, they make the same jokes, and at some point, fake the same disorders. I graduated in 2019 and it's like, dang nabbit, I just missed it. I just nearly dodged a group chat full of people saying, hey, this is this alter fronting. Cause low key though, I was online. I saw all this happen on TikTok. I was not fully aware that people were literally doing this IRL. This theater kid story though is a perfect example. Social contagion, is it? You have a small environment plus everyone feeding off of each other, and suddenly a neurological disorder turns into a personality trait. No one wants to be the odd one out, so reality just kind of packs up and leaves. And I know some of you are gonna comment saying the same thing, that fake claiming does more harm than good and hurts people with the actual disorder. And you're allowed to feel that way. I understand that reaction. But also, look at what happens when nobody ever says anything. The whole vibe becomes, well, just believe every performance forever. It doesn't magically protect those with any disorder, DID. It turns TikTok, the internet, into a stage where the messiest, most dramatic portrayal wins. I don't know, I seriously don't. But also, doesn't that end up harming people too? And then the trend dies, the fakers move on to whatever the next big thing is. But then the people who are still living with this stuff are stuck holding the bag. They're getting doubted because some TikTok kids turned their condition into a fandom. So yeah, that that is the Sprite company. Honestly, a lot of this does just feel like embarrassing late teens, early 20s. This is stuff that never should have been immortalized on the internet. Most of us get to be cringe in peace. They didn't get that. At the same time though, it wasn't cringe, right? It was turning a real trauma-based disorder into entertainment. It has a storyline, a cast of characters, you know, you can buy these alter stuff on Amazon. If you've watched all the way to the end, might you consider hitting like and subscribe? I will continue to find the weirdest corners of the internet and drag you with me. Let me know what you think. Comment below a popcorn emoji because, listen, if you didn't have any snacks during this, it's time to eat, right? Let me know what you think because 2020 was genuinely an unhinged era and I am still recovering. All right, love you guys. See you in the next one and bye.